Hey, Pastor Josh here. We're reading Acts chapter 8, verses 1 through 3. And regrets can indeed be redeemed. I know you've got some regrets. There are some things that you wish you did not do. Perhaps there are some things that you even did last night, yesterday, or last week that you are regretting right now, even as you watch this video. I want to tell you that your regrets can indeed be redeemed. And what that word redeemed mean, that's a fancy, a biblical church word. Redeemed simply means to be bought back. It means that Satan has it, somebody else has it, and we get it back. We buy it back. We have it for ourselves. And so all of the regrets and the sin and the hurt that you have caused, and sadly will cause, can be redeemed. That is the great hope of the gospel. And we see one of the great redemption stories. We see the regret part, the bad part, today as we read Acts chapter 8. So let us look into this. Stephen has just been executed. The first Christian martyr has laid down his life for Christ. And there will be thousands upon thousands upon thousands upon thousands of martyrs that would follow Stephen. And Paul, formerly called Saul, as he will be in our story, he was holding the clothes. He was holding the garments while they threw the rocks at Stephen. In Saul, we're told in verse 1 of chapter 8, we're told that Saul approved of his execution. No, he did not pick up a stone and throw it, but he did approve of it, and he would have at that moment gladly have picked up a stone and throw it at him. And I'm sure, like I said in our previous reading video, I'm sure he was extremely grateful he didn't go as far as he could have went in actually picking up a stone and throwing it at Stephen. But don't think, just because he didn't go all the way and pick up a stone and throw it, that he did not have a deep, terrible regret about what he did. We also need to remember that we don't need to be so sure of ourselves and so happy when we don't sin worse than we could have. Any ounce and bit of sin is bad and is enough to do damage to hearts, to souls, to people, to businesses, to families all around us. So here's Paul approving of his execution. And I wonder, this would be a sin for you to confess. What is it that you are regretting? And maybe confess that to the Lord right now. No, not maybe. Do it. Confess that to the Lord right now and tell him you are sorry and you don't want to do it anymore. You want to change and ask him to help you to do that. And then begin to perhaps write out a plan. Write out a few things, maybe just one thing that you could do to ensure, or at least to help, to avoid doing that again. So Saul is here approving of his execution, and there arose on that day a great persecution against the church in Jerusalem. A great persecution happened, and they were all scattered. And this is an attitude we need to change, is that God, if you remember, Jesus told them that they would be his witnesses in Jerusalem, in Judea, in Samaria, and to the ends of the earth. And this is one of the means that God has ordained, that he has allowed to happen to get them moving and going. Perhaps they would have never left if this persecution did not happen. But we do know it was the means by which they went. And here they are, scattered throughout the regions. Unless you think I'm just making this up, there it is, Judea and Samaria, except the apostles. They were scattered about. Now, it is interesting, why are the apostles staying in Jerusalem? Perhaps there's a good reason for that. Perhaps they're being disobedient and they are not going as they should. But all of the Christians, many of the Christians, that were following Jesus, they were scattered throughout the regions of Samaria. And as they went, guess what they did? They told people about Jesus. And guess what happened? Churches were planted and started. The mission of God is expanding now, using a terrible situation of Stephen's death to get the mission done. God redeems all situations. He promises to redeem all situations, to work together all things for good to those who love him and are called according to his purposes. So he's making this happen. And so, going back to Stephen, there is this burial for Stephen, and devout men buried Stephen and made great lamentation over him. Notice this is in contrast to the lack of lamentation that was given for Ananias and Sapphira, the ones that lied to Peter, that lied to the church, that lied to God himself, that lied to the Holy Spirit. They didn't get a proper burial. They were just quickly buried fast. But in this case, there is great lamentation over Stephen because of the words and the actions that he did and the fact of him being the first Christian martyr. But Saul, here again, the sin of the future apostle Paul, but Saul was ravaging the church. What strong language. He's as a bear, a lion coming after it. And entering house after house, he dragged off men and women and committed them to prison. He is attacking the church. Again, regrets can be redeemed. All regrets can be redeemed by God. Will you allow him to do that? One of the biggest thing about regrets is the fact that you are regretting it. Sometimes we don't regret the bad things that we do. And the fact that you actually regret it is actually a sign and a help for you to actually turn and stop doing it again. Your desire not to have done it actually will help you in the future not to do it again. It's actually a gift from the Lord. Regrets can indeed be redeemed. Paul will later on call himself the chief of sinners. And he says, if God's grace can have itself over me, can save me, then surely he can save you. He calls himself the chief among sinners. And indeed, Saul ended up changing in a radical way to follow the Lord and be one of the great missionaries of the gospel. So I wonder, whatever it is that you might be regretting, can you use that regret for good? Can you turn resolutely from that sin, let the Lord redeem it, and can you then do much more good? Can you do more good? Can you cause life and health and happiness and help to other people because of this regret? Can you choose to let that regret fuel you, or are you going to let that regret just continue to pull you down? Because that is an option that you could do. You could crawl into the bed and just lay there and not do anything and just regret. You could just sit on the couch and regret. You could just go about your life doing things the same way and just live in a state of grief, a state of sorrow, a state of regret. Or you can let the Lord redeem that regret and use that to actually fuel positive change, positive godly change in your life. I pray that has been a blessing to you. We saw this happen in the Apostle Paul, and I pray that we'll see it happen in our own lives as well. I will see you guys in the next video.